Home invasion, one of the most rapidly growing crimes in our neighborhoods. It's not sophisticated, not overwhelming, not unstoppable unless you're not prepared. Stop the Threat starts now. Hello and welcome to Stop the Threat. My name is James Towle. On today's episode, we're taking you to Houston, Texas, where they say the family that plays together stays together. And we call this episode Fighting Back. But before I show you part one, let me introduce you to today's panel. Marc MacYoung, author of many books and videos on surviving high-risk situations. Marc is also a recognized court expert on cases involving violence. Kathy Jackson, author and one of the most recognized female defensive handgun instructors in the country. And Don Clark. Don was with the FBI for 25 years. Don supervised many high-profile cases, including the 1979 Iranian hostage crisis. Welcome all. Now, before I actually go into part one, we have a lot of emails after each show. So what I've done is I've taken some of those emails and I've kind of put them all together and into a solid one question. So let me ask this question to the panel, because I get this asked repeatedly. Are we sending the right message to viewers by saying, walk away, don't get involved? There could be a lawsuit. And that's really the message that we give in a lot of these. And, you know, folks are saying, well, you know, if we don't get involved, then crime continues. They want to do some sort of a law enforcement act, which we discourage people from doing. But they're saying in the emails, you're asking me then to stay in my home, don't buy a gun, don't use a gun, don't get aggressive. I don't know. Are we sending the right message here, Don?
I don't think so. Here's the problem. Lawsuit is not the issue. Don't hang up on lawsuit. Do the right thing.
Okay.
Analyze what you need to do and do the right thing, and then things will work on from there.
Okay, all right.
My answer is make an informed decision that violence has consequences. If you engage in violence, and especially unnecessary violence, that's the determining factor. Do you have to engage, really?
Okay.
Because we are talking about taking a human life here.
All right. Or possibly.
Possibly.
Absolutely the right message, because self-defense is a human right, yes, but it's a human right that belongs to everybody. When I work with people, my tagline is fight like a cornered cat. A cat doesn't go, a domestic cat, she's friendly, she's cuddly, she's sweet, she's loving, all that stuff, but don't try to trap her in a bad situation. She will do whatever it takes to get to safety. However, she's not interested in staying to engage with whatever frightened her. She's going to do what it takes to get to where she's safe. And I think as long as we keep the emphasis on getting to where we're safe and doing the things we need to do to stay safe, yes, sometimes that will be get away. But that's good advice, not bad advice.
Okay. Go on a little bit more with where you were going with that, Marc, because you were kind of, I liked where you were going.
Well, realize that 50% of all the people getting into fights lose. Problem is you don't know which 50%. And there is a time and place for conflict. There's time and place making informed decisions of sometimes you do have to engage. But realistically, since you're not law enforcement, you don't have a duty to act.
Right. And I think that's important to point out.
Right.
Because I think a lot of folks that go out there and they get their permits, they train well, and then they somehow feel a role of law enforcement. And I think that's dangerous.
Very much so.
What do you think, Don?
Absolutely. I think it's dangerous as well. First of all, training is absolutely necessity. with all of these people out there, and the better trained they are, the more likely that they will make the right decision as to when to go in and when to back off of these situations.
I like that. When we come back, I'm going to show you part 1. Don't go away. Welcome back to Stop the Threat. We are going to go now to Houston, Texas. I'm going to show you part 1 of a home invasion. Let's watch.
I'll get it. No! You expecting anyone?
Give us your money and nobody gets hurt. Shut her up.
Okay, we're looking at part 1 there. I think we are, what do you think so far, Don?
Well, you know, there are a number of things there that can go wrong, and that did go wrong here. Is number one is that in today's modern times, that usually we have peek holes
Yeah, I
or
like that.
something.
Yeah.
And we probably want to take a look through there to see just who it is. And if you're not really expecting somebody, how about just asking, who is it?
Right.
You know,
Right. What's wrong
before you
with
do
that?
it. Just those type of things.
Right.
Just safety type things
Right.
to
Simple.
do. Just simple things to do. And then make a decision if you want to open your door or not.
Okay, I like that. Kathy?
It was interesting that he asked, "Are you expecting anybody?" after he had already opened the door.
Right, right.
And that goes back to what you said. The other thing here is you'll notice that when the intruders rushed in, they immediately went for the guys, leaving the woman free. That is something that we see in a lot of home invasions. A lot of times the man is the most well-trained person in the household,
Take him out
but
first.
maybe perhaps women need to look at how these crimes happen and think about our responsibilities to our families.
Yeah, I like that. Mark?
I'm going to upgrade what Don said here. With modern technology, and I'm a very big fan of video camera doorbells. So what you do is you walk up and you look at the monitor that is showing you, hey, there's 3 guys standing on your porch that you don't know. So, you know, forewarned, and most home invasions happen with a knock at the door.
Right.
That's how they start. So knowing that, that's a good reason to spend the $150 or whatever it is for that, to go beyond just a peephole.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, I would say that's certainly an option. I don't know that everyone would take that option, but they are going back to the simple things. I like the idea of a peephole. In this particular case, it appeared as though there was a glass door. And probably what I noticed was there was no lighting. So you couldn't really see who was out there before you asked the question, hey, is anybody expecting anyone? So I probably would have lit the area better. You know, I don't know that everyone out there is going to go out, but I know they're very inexpensive, Mark. I'm not sure exactly what the prices are, but you know, a good deadbolt, light, and being able to see who is out in front of the front door or the number of people out there, I think is important.
James, you hit it right on the head as far as I'm concerned, because in today's world, if you don't have a peephole, some type of mechanism to be able to see outside your door before you just open the door and let something in, then you're behind the times. And it's not a big expense type of issue. You say that I can't afford it. That's not the issue. We have to realize that in this day and time, unfortunately, that we can't just open the door like my grandparents did and said, come on in, you know, and when you don't do that, this is what you get, just what we just saw.
Yeah, well, our grandparents probably didn't even lock the door.
Oh, absolutely. I never had a key to my house.
Times change.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, and you actually alluded to it earlier, and I really like that, was the fact that, hey, announce, who are you? Why are you here? Who are you here for? Ask it some questions before you open the door.
Yeah.
I mean, that makes so much sense to me.
Well, and it's also a knock at the door is like a phone call at 3 a.m. knock at the door at night, something's not quite right. There's a problem. And that's why instead of just falling to the default, open the door, saying yes, when something is out of normal, it's important to start shifting your mindset early. Otherwise, you're behind the curve.
Yeah, I think when the sun goes down and people are starting to come to your door, you know, you might be a little more concerned. If you live in a nice neighborhood, this wouldn't happen. But if you lived in a neighborhood that was more friendly, I don't know that you need to be really suspicious, but you know, you need to start thinking about it. I mean, it could be your neighbor coming over asking for a cup of sugar.
Well, suspicious sounds so negative. I think Mark's point, and I would agree with it, is that we need to be aware of those red flags. And that is a red flag. It doesn't mean, oh gosh, you know, everything's gone wrong. It means this is where we slow down, change mental gears, and look at what's happening.
But I still go back to is that you just cannot today go and open your door at any time, day or night.
Day or night.
And
Good
say,
point.
come in.
Right. We come back, I'm going to show you part 2, so don't go away. Welcome back. We've seen part 1, and it looks as though things are moving along quite quickly here. Let's look at part 2 and see how things materialized.
You're expecting someone?
Give us your money and nobody gets hurt. Shut her up. Go get her. What's going on?
Call the police.
Okay, there was a lot of things going on in part 2. I'm going to start out by saying it appears as though the family had a plan. Okay, I mean, to see the young man bolt from the chair and leave the room told me that something had been planned. What do you think, Don?
James, I have to agree with you on that. You know, I was sort of surprised myself to see that the young man came up with the gun. So, which means that it probably means to me that somewhere along the line that the family may have talked about something like this, because for him to be able to go and immediately get a weapon to defend his family, I just thought that was magnificent.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think we would certainly want all of the viewers to think about that in terms of having a plan for yourself. But moving on, what did you see, Mark?
Well, I saw a lot of good things. What I was especially happy to see is that once they were fleeing, he stopped firing.
Yeah, I noticed that too, and I think that's a good point of conversation.
Right.
Actually, and we'll talk about that in just a minute, but go ahead.
The other thing is by him retreating and them not following until later shows that they're pretty amateurs. Now, one of the things that I like dealing with professional criminals is they are pros. It's the amateurs who are the real problem. And that they're more unpredictable than the professionals. So, you know, that fact that they had an answer, that the plan, it worked out, is very, very good, and I really respect that. But the fact that even with amateurs, when they started bolting, he stopped firing. Again, I'm going to come back to that point, and that is a defensible, clean shoot.
Okay. Kathy, did any of the bad guys have a gun?
Didn't see, doesn't
No, I
matter.
didn't see either.
Irrelevant, because we had an overwhelming force. There's more than one person coming in. They are acting in concert as a group, and any one of them could have physically overwhelmed any one of the residents of that home, with the possible exception of the father, who was actually overwhelmed and on the ground pretty much instantly.
Right.
So it does not matter whether you see a weapon or not, the mere fact of the violent invasion and the multiple people. One of the things I loved about this was how quickly the family acted. They didn't wait to see what was going to happen. They instantly executed the plan that they had. One thing that I think they could have improved even more above the already stellar idea that they had is, as the young man came out of the bedroom, it would have been even more powerful if he had been using his voice as well as his body language to say, hey, the tables are turned now.
Right.
We're in control now. Get out.
Communicate.
Right. The
Voice
communication would be a
intimidation.
big deal.
I think that's certainly a good point. Do you want to go a little further?
There's also something else to understand about a home invasion. A home invasion is a nightmare from a variety of standpoints, but mostly the people who do it, it's in isolation. And being alone with predators in isolation is never good.
Okay, you led me right to, and I'm going to come back to you, Don. But you know, when they closed the door and everybody felt safe, I thought, well, you know, there's somebody in the other room there who has been shot. I don't know how severely they're shot.
Right.
But,
Right.
You know, I felt like there needs to be some movement to,
Right.
well, what's going on back there? We don't even know if he's armed.
Right.
Yeah. I just wanted to make a point about the mother who started to yell.
Right.
I thought that was just outstanding because no matter what's going on and how bad these thugs think they are, when all of a sudden they start hearing somebody screaming and carrying on, at least what that does is sort of fracture things away so that they kind of feel like, oh, geez, we need to get out of here.
And that was part of voice intimidation.
Right. Exactly.
wasn't it?
Right.
Hey, when we
Exactly.
come back, we'll have some more comments for you. Don't go away. Welcome back, viewers. We've seen part one, we've seen part two, we've seen how the whole thing is evolved, and I think Don, just before we went to break, had a good point about voice intimidation and screaming.
Yeah, well, you know, these people, as big a thugs as they may be coming in there, they really want to get in and get whatever they came in for and get out. And when you start that type of activity, rather than just laying quietly and trying to be obedient and so on and so forth, I mean, sometimes you have to take a risk. And I think the mother's actions there really put it out. When they start that screaming, then immediately the people start to say, how the heck do we get out of here?
And she screamed and she ran.
And she ran.
So now she's taking some of the
Right.
attention away.
Right. That's
The
right.
bad guys are now watching a moving woman screaming, and he said, shut her up.
Right.
Right.
So that's taking some of the emphasis off it.
And now you got them all
Absolutely.
split, too.
Right.
You got
Right.
people going in
That's
all
a good point.
directions. Yes.
That's a good point, yeah.
You're also dealing with the fact of, as she's going that way screaming, it's taking the attention off the guy going for the gun.
Right. That's a very big deal.
Okay.
And taking the attention off of the man on the floor, because it sure looked to me like they were getting ready to administer an epic beating. And
Yeah.
the fact that she did something that disrupted that,
Right. Right.
it almost doesn't matter what you do as long as you do something right away
To break their
to
strategy.
break the
Well,
strategy.
yeah, and that goes back to what Don was saying. Just don't sit there and cooperate.
Right.
And there are some circumstances, viewer, where cooperation might be a good idea, but I think they had a level here, as you said, of the opportunity to distract the bad guy.
Yeah, and you know, if I can just make one other point, is that, you know, just keep it, they had their eye on things that were happening there, and you have to make some decisions there, not panic, and they really didn't panic, even though there may have been some screaming, but it wasn't a panic type of affair of not doing anything, and that's difficult to tell people, and I'm not really saying that, okay, you're not doing your job because you're doing that, but that's one of the things that we ought to try to consider with our families, is to try to keep as calm as we can, control as we can, so that we can get the points that we want.
Right.
Right.
And
I think just a reverse, though, could be that the bad guys did not gain good control
Correct.
when they came in the door,
Right.
which gave the offense, defense the opportunity
The home team.
to take
Right.
over.
Right.
Is that where you were going?
Well, sort of, and more with you made the comment about there is a time and place to cooperate, and that is true, especially when the situation could go bad but isn't quite, or maybe there's something going on, there's more options. With home invasion, again, we're talking a serious level of predation. We're talking overwhelming force. We're talking bad news. So that's really not the time to be passive and cooperative unless you're doing it for a tactical reason.
Let me just give you a little follow-up because I know you have something to say. A little follow-up on this was that the bad guy who was shot died on the scene. Okay, we have that from the police report. We also have that no charges, of course, were filed against any of the homeowners. But I just want to throw that in. It appears as though when Dad went to the door, it was not uncommon, according to Dad in the police report, to have his son's friends come over in the evening. We've got a few
that
minutes.
would explain what went to the door in the
didn't want to
evening.
give that away
Yes.
early, but that's.
Well, and here we have something that is really classic and hugely important to keep in mind. Details matter.
Yes.
And when we can give broad principles, that's awesome. But when it gets down to the actual nitty-gritty of what happened, the details really do make all the difference in the world.
And I think that's probably what we're going to have to leave with. We've run out of time. I hope you've enjoyed the show. Email me. In the meanwhile, be safe, be trained, be alert.